Buy-to-let versus flips, the battle commences. All right, let's break it down. There's a lot of pros and cons of each, but what are they and which is right for you? First of all, what is a buy-to-let? Let's keep it really basic. So a buy-to-let is the most simple way of owning a rental property in, well, anywhere in the world, but specifically in the UK for us. You buy a property and you rent it out to an individual, small family, but it's on one official renter. What is a flip? Well, again, different ways of doing this, but in the most simple form, you buy a property, you add value to the property, typically through refurbishment, and then you sell it on to somebody else on the open market to make a profit. Here are my top 3 pros of a buy-to-let property. Number 1 is it pays you every single month. So the great thing is, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You buy the property, you do the work needed, and then you rent it out, let's say to a young family, and then they pay you every single month for putting a roof over their head. Now, yes, there's going to be some complications, which I'll go into, but in general, the thing that I love is you buy it once, it's bricks and mortar, safe as houses, it's there forever, especially if it was an old building in the UK, and then somebody's going to pay you for the privilege forever to stay in that property. Number 2, the values always go up. Big claim, Jamie. No, it doesn't go up every single year. It fluctuates. What that means is it does go up and down with the market and the economy, just like every other investment. But in general, property doubles every 10 to 12 years, and it's done this for almost 1,000 years. So I'm not predicting the future, I'm not Nostradamus. However, 1,000 years is a good amount of evidence, and the fact that I can see it, smell it, and touch the asset gives me confidence. Do you know what? There's over 1.5 million people looking for a property right now that doesn't exist. Why is this important? Demand is here, supply is here, and when demand for something is above supply, prices generally go up. Number 3, taxes. We don't love taxes at all. So why am I talking about taxes as one of the pros? Well, owning a buy-to-let property and keeping it for the long term, there's a lot of tax incentives. So we talk about the equity in property. What is equity? Equity is the amount that you own. So if, say, for example, I own a property worth 100,000, but I've got a 75,000 pound mortgage, the 25 grand that's left, that's mine. The downside of buy-to-let is, well, it's only on paper. How do I access it? Well, this is where the tax incentives come in. When the value of the property comes up, remember I said it doubles roughly every 10 years. So in 10 years time, it's worth 200,000. That means I've made another 100,000. So instead of selling the property and getting it, I can refinance or get a new mortgage at the new value of the property, and I can release up to 75% of that 100 grand in my pocket without spending a pound on tax. What are the downsides? It's not all a rosy lee, is it? So the downsides of property in general, but specifically with buy-to-let, are as follows. So number 1 is it's going to take a while to get a return on your investment. Remember, a buy-to-let is not about high risk, high stakes, high return. This is more the guaranteed wealth increase, not the high risk. This is not cryptocurrency, all right? So this is not a gamble. This is safe and secure, and you need to be reasonable with what returns you're going to get. Number 2 downside is you need to be really careful about who you put in your property, because if you get a bad tenant and they trash the house, you can go from 100% occupancy to 0% occupancy. What do I mean by that? Well, if one person's renting your property for you and then they decide to leave, now 0 are renting from you. And so you need to make sure that you're getting the right tenant in from day one, and this is where something called referencing comes in. You need to get references on the person to make sure they're a high caliber individual that's going to pay you on time every single month. The final downside is about buying in the right area. So we call it our Vine Street properties. I'm sure you played Monopoly, and if you haven't, get off the channel right now and go play a game. But if you remember, you've got Mayfair on one side, Old Kent Road on the other, and Vine Street, bar none, is the best investment. And we look for Vine Street properties. These are properties that are going to attract great renters over the long term, that's going to make your house their home, but also have strong capital growth. What does capital growth even mean? What it means is because there's such high demand for the property, more and more people want to buy the property in this area than is available. Like I said earlier, property prices go up. So why is this a con? Because it's really hard to find and analyze the data in that area. On getting the right property in the right location, if you are in the market to start building your buy-to-let portfolio, then put APG in the comments. If you don't know, my company, Aspire Property Group, helps people just like you build their boring vanilla buy-to-let investments. And the way you can get access to this is by putting APG in the comments. You need a minimum of $50,000 to invest. This doesn't go to us, it's to help you build your portfolio, and we will help you build it hands-free, none of your own time, using the experts so you don't get it wrong. What about a flip, Jamie? Buy-to-let sound absolutely incredible, but why not buy a property, do it up, and get the money in my pocket? Not too bad. Here's the pros and cons. Number one, faster money. Let's face it, there's no such thing as get rich quick in property, only get rich for sure if you do it right. But ultimately, the money comes in quicker. If I buy a property for 100 grand, put 20 grand into it, and then it's worth 150, I sell it and I make 30 grand profit, minus some expenses, I'm a pretty happy lad. All you need is one, maybe two of those a year, and you've replaced your income. Number two, no ongoing obligations. Property is like a really big sponge. I know it sounds a bit weird, but a brick is basically a really slow sponge. It takes in all of this battering, the wind, the rain, tenants knocking about the property, all these ongoing liabilities. And the cool thing about doing a flip is you buy it, do the work, and then sell it, and you're done. You move on forever. And that's really appealing for a lot of people that just want to make nice chunks of change rather than the ongoing liability of owning the property. And finally, I really like how repeatable this is. Once you've got your model of the area, let's say in my area, I go to a place called Harrogate. Gorgeous part of Yorkshire. It doesn't need to be this high of a value, by the way, for it to work. I might go to Harrogate and I might buy a semi-detached property there for around 300,000. I might spend about 50,000 on it, making it like just really like, you know, the house we look at and go, I would love to live there. That sort of property. So I'm in for 350 plus some fees, and then I'll sell it for 450,000. After all my fees, interest payments, I'll make maybe 75,000 profit. Not too bad. That's great. But what's really great about it is I can buy the one next door. I can buy the one the street over, and I can rinse and repeat the process. And the great thing is, as I'm doing that, I'm building relationships with people in the area. So eventually, I'm not even looking anymore. They're bringing opportunities to me on a monthly basis. It's not that good. There are some downsides. The first one is risk. That's great, Jamie, but all it takes is a slight shift in the market. Well, what shifts could there be? I don't know. Labour government coming in? Maybe a budget that doesn't really go to plan? All of these things can affect the demand. And the problem is with a flip is often our margins are really exciting, but it doesn't take a lot to get it down. So let's say, for example, my Harrogate property that I'm selling for 450 grand to make my 75 grand net profit. What happens if the market moves, I don't know, 5%? Well, that's 22,500 gone like that. What if it moved 10%? Now it's getting kind of scary. What if the builders in the area are really busy right now and they need to reduce the amount of work? So what do? They're going to put in higher quotes for their work. What happens if the cost of materials, bricks, timber, what you're going to need goes up in price? And so it's not to say don't do them, but you need to think about these movements all the way along, because this nice big profit arrangement can very quickly become a cost, not an asset to you. The next downside is holding costs. So it's not just about how much you're going to sell it for, it's how quickly you're going to sell it. So a lot of people get greedy. Agents will try and sell you like, oh yeah, we'll be able to sell it for 480, Jamie. Come with us, we'll get 480 all day. And in my head, I'm like, well, that's way better than 450. So then they convince me, they list it, because remember, the agent's job isn't really to give me correct valuations, it's to win my business. Ooh, shock horror, right? And so then what happens is they'll end up listing it at 480. It's not realistic. It's sat on the market for 6 months. They bring it down, all of that stuff. But in the meantime, I've been paying holding costs. I've been paying my cost of finance every single month, because unlikely I'm buying that in cash unless we're very fortunate, right? Then, of course, we've got the fact that there's going to be the council tax, the water, the insurance on the property, and a load of other things. And you just need to be really careful because holding time is the little thing in the background that's scratching away your profits every single day. And you only really figure that out once you've sold it and you realize the pot left isn't as good as you thought it was. Finally, we're back to our friend, tax. Here's the big thing that I don't like about flips is you miss out on so much of that opportunity. And honestly, I'm going to pick my favorite in a second. But when you sell that property, you're going to either pay a hefty capital gains tax, which is the tax on the profit at 18 or 28%, depending on your income tax level, or corporation tax, which is between 19 and 25%. So often we're making this profit, but we're paying out this really hefty tax. Now, that doesn't mean don't do a flip. What it does mean is factor it into your numbers. Now, here's the thing. Let's say I bought a 100 grand property, buy to let versus flip, and I'm going to tell you what one's my favorite and why. Let's say I buy a property at 100,000 and I put 50,000 in it, and then the new value is at 200,000. Well, I can sell it, and let's forget fees for the sake of this. I could sell the property and make that 50 grand profit there. And if I do make that 50 grand profit, great, I've got my money back. But I'm also going to pay, let's say the high end of corporation tax to make this easy, 25% tax on that 50 grand. So 12.5 grand is going to be paid in tax, and I'm left with a net of 37,500. Alternatively, what I could do is refinance the buy-to-let. What does that mean? It means I can get a new mortgage at the new value of the property. Now, typically with a buy-to-let, that's going to be 75% loan to value. What that means is that the new debt is going to be 150 grand. So what have I got there? Well, I've got 100% of my money back, because remember, I'm all in for 150 grand. I've still got my net worth there at 50 grand because it's equity, which is the value of the property minus the debt. So we've minus the 150, we're left with that 50 grand. So I've ended up keeping all of my wealth, getting all of my money back so I can go again. And I've got the longevity of this buy-to-let investment, which typically in my areas will double in value every 10 years. So it will go from 200 to 400 to 800,000 because I was more patient with the investment. So if it's not obvious, I'm all in on boring vanilla buy-to-let properties. Do I do some flips every now and then? Yes, but it will be 1 in 20 purchases maybe. My plan is the long game. I care about long-term wealth. And if you care about long-term wealth and the long game as well, you need to be investing in boring vanilla buy-to-let properties. And if you want to do it the right way, and you want to work with experts that can help you scale your portfolio of buy-to-let properties, then put APG in the comments right now. I'm going to send you a link and you can have a free one-to-one strategy call to understand where you're at, where you want to get to, and how we can help you get there. Now, you need a minimum of £50,000 to invest in our areas. Our average investor has 100K to play with. That's not for us. That's for you building your portfolio. But we want to help you. So if that sounds like you want to accumulate your wealth in the right way, low risk by working with experts, put APG in the comments. I really hope this has been a valuable video. If it has, make sure to hit that like button. It's an easy way for us to know that we are adding value. And if you want to find out more about property, business, and building your wealth, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're up to date with the latest tips and tricks.